April 2015, Anonymous Newfoundland interview with Mr. Frederick Palmer. Mr. Palmer, how are you today?
I'm still alive.
Mr. Palmer is an injured worker, has been fighting for his rights for a long time. I presume, how many years now?
35. A little over 35.
And through that process has had nothing but injustice, disrespect, and I don't know, Mr. Palmer can explain that to you himself better than I ever could. I've been lucky enough to get to know Mr. Palmer, and it's an honor to meet this man. He's been slandered in the past, and through all of this, he still has a big heart and does his best to care for others and tries to keep his morals strong and clean. And we're really lucky to know him. And my first question to you is, what happened? What put you into this situation? How did you get injured?
Well,
when did it happen?
I can basically say that, I was just an ordinary, average guy. Just wanted to go to work and have a living, contribute to my community, be a part of it, take care of myself, be independent. I had a strong work ethic. I started work when I was 15 as a dishwasher. I had all kinds of jobs, including forest firefighter in Northern Ontario, oil exploration in Alberta, pulp and paper mill worker, security guard, working underground. So on until I got a job at the railway when I was 24. And I was only hired on as a summer maintenance away crew member.
But you were well rounded in the workforce by then in a way too, like a jack of all trades.
Solid work, yes.
That's right.
Pretty well. Intermittently, camp jobs and such as that, right?
How long had you been working for the railroad when your accident happened?
Only about 4 months at the time.
Okay.
I got hired, as I said, as a laborer, general laborer for their maintenance away crews, summer crews. But it was quickly realized that I had, better skills and I had more experience than most of the men, and I was hand-picked out of about 40 of us to run the crane. It's a very tricky little machine. It's only small. It's not a big crane. It's a toy crane, they call it, right? But it's hard to keep on the track, But I run that thing. I got in it. It was made for me. It was like a spaceship. I was king of my domain. It was like I could run that thing. I felt happy. It was, and everybody saw the value and how well I could run it.
Cool.
Yeah. And I was picked, and that they put me on that machine. Anyway, I thought.
So if you were a crane operator,
and because of that promotion,
yep.
Right, I was given a full-time job at the company. It didn't matter my education.
That's right,
I only had grade 9.
It's okay. Go on,
but it didn't matter my education, but my skills and experience, got me to that level, right? It was a very responsible job. You got 40 men running around up and down a track, and all that, and you're running a little crane, the boom, and you have to have the eyes in the back of your head. You have to be sober, and I didn't drink. Never drank on the job while I worked there, at all, ever, right? The whole term of my employment.
Did you ever smoke any marijuana when you were at work?
No, not on that job, no. I admit I've smoked marijuana in the past as a kid, and, I've drank and all that stuff, but I did not drink or do any drugs whatsoever at my employment with Algoma Central Railway. No.
Yeah, keep it brief.
Yeah. So, anyway, on August 30th, 1979, there were 42 crew members riding a motor car and 3 rail cars. They're employee transport. Now, I call them a train. People assume it was a big, huge train, but they were employee transport. They could fit about a dozen guys in each one and all our equipment and gear with a big bench down the middle that we put everything in. And then we sit back to back, and there's a rail down the middle that we sit back to back. And there's a big front and a roof and a back with a window, and, it's all heavy gauge steel and planks on the floor and steel wheels, right? So 3 of them. Anyway, there were safety violations. They only used a railway spike to hold the bar together, right? Okay, and there was supposed to be a cotter pin in the bottom, and of course there was no cotter pin.
And what is this for, like a door, a barrier, so you can't fall into the thing, or?
No, that was the bar that holds the cars together, like a bar, like a steel bar about that big around, and about 3 feet long, and it had had two lips on either end. You know what I mean? And then, of course, now every car had a plate, big steel plate. So you go like that, and you put the rod down through and put the cotter pin, and then there's a safety thing on top of the latch that's supposed to go over the top. So that's to keep basically the pin from popping out and separate the cars. Well, they didn't do any of that. They just had a railway spike there to hold it together.
Yep.
And we were coming home. We didn't know that. We were just, riding them. This was the foreman's responsibility to do all that. And anyway, as we were going really fast. About, I don't know, about 40 miles an hour. And the pin popped out. The bar went down. We heard a couple of clunk, 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 and we didn't know what it was because we were still moving. There was no brakes or anything, right? And what happened was the bar went down and hit one of the railway ties and jackknifed the car like this and just fanned 6 of us out across the track. I landed right in the middle of the track, head first. I got 30 stitches around my left eye. My nose was broken 4 or 5 places. And I had 3 teeth shattered, and they were all post and capped.
Yeah,
and,
that's okay.
Okay, but anyway, I wanted to show you that. But, I need work on them.
What other injuries did you get from that accident?
My right collarbone was broken in half and was shortened about that much.
Okay.
My left shoulder was shattered with bone fragments present. My rotator cuff was knocked off. My left arm was broken in half like that. And a nerve was severed down the back, and I got muscle wasting and damage in my shoulder. And it's frozen now, and because of the bones healing up the way they did, I can't raise my arm anymore, more than that. And
That's
it's
right.
extremely painful to do.
I can testify to this because me and Fred have tried to do some stretches before we did the interview, and he showed me all his cars.
And, but then, see, I went head first onto the track. I landed in the middle of the track. So I have 3 rail cars now with 31 men all our equipment and gear. And this car is across the track and still being momentum of the other 2. Well, that hit me square in the middle of the back. And I got a large scar, a large gash right across the middle of my back. Right through my clothes and everything, right? And that paralyzed me down my right side of my back, from the back of the shoulder, right down to the bottom of my rib cage. And I get weakness. I can't hold myself up. It's like one arm is now 2 inches. It's like dropped. That side of me. I can't twist my shoulders are twisted, and I can't keep myself level. And but then my belt got caught up in the railway tie. Okay. When I got struck, it was sort of like I got struck, and then my belt got caught up in the railway tie, and it almost pulled me apart, and I got twisted, and the belt actually cut into my sides and made grooves right into my sides and twisted. I got 3 herniated discs, and somehow I got rolled over, and I remember I was on my back, and I just opened my eye for a second, and I said, I'm dead, and closed my eye again, but I could see the train run, the second car, like going over me, right, like running down the track, but I'm just on the ground outside, and so anyway, apparently my ankle was on the other track, right, and the wheel of the rail car ran over my ankle and severely crushed everything in it. I had all the major tendons and ligaments severely crushed. I had peroneal nerve damage, which is the main nerve going down your leg. I had a large hematoma. I had diastasis. My foot came apart from my leg. My ankle was broken at least 2 places. And as a result of all that, I've been prone to get blood clots in the calf of my leg. And I did suffer later years. I tried to go to work, but I got blood clots all up and down the calf of my leg and was hospitalized for 2 weeks. I've had an operation on my knee because the cartilage went where everything is crushed down on the bottom. It's pulling everything in here. It's like wearing and tearing, because this is not working down here. Okay, it's just not there to work. I do have scars there on either side of my ankle, and to show some damage. Most of it is all internal, of course. You can't, see most of the damage. But I was brain injured. I was unconscious twice in that accident, and I suffered migraine headaches for 20 years. I had behavior problems. I suffered anxiety and stress, and unable to, great depression.
Would you say you have post-stress traumatic syndrome too? PSTT, whatever it's called?
I have been diagnosed 15 years ago with a depressive mood disorder. Really what it is because I've been denied my compensation ever since I got hurt. Basically, I had, basic medical care, healed up enough to get out of the hospital, and, basically that's it, and fight for your money the rest of your life. The thing that I disagree with, and what makes my case unique, okay, is the fact that I could have sued the railway or taken compensation. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know nothing about this.
No, because you were just a young man.
Yeah, and I was brain injured, and I was out of the hospital with coming off of morphine and Valium and everything else they gave me. I never slept for 2 weeks. Nurses were coming in, changing my bandages and washing me and everything. So I have chunks out of my body from my leg and my under here and up here and my sides and scars here and across me, all over, right? So there was a lot of bandages and scars and everything, a lot of cleaning up to do. I couldn't barely move, and I was just trying to get well. Right? I was a week in intensive care unconscious, and then another week in a semi-private room, and then I was back in a recovery center. Okay. After that, they sent me to Toronto for 6 weeks of therapy at the Downsview Hospital, and then sent me back on outpatient therapy for the rest of the winter. And I was threatened to go back to work. If I didn't go back to work, I'd lose my job. I asked the specialist if I could have another month's therapy because he was going to cut it off, but I had to go back to work, and I was just trying to get well. So anyway, I went back to work, and I couldn't handle my job. It was just too much pain. My ankle wasn't healed. I was walking on a track is unbelievable. For even when you're healthy, it's just uneven. Your foot's going every which way. You have to be careful how you walk on a railway track. But I found it extremely painful. I found my leg was getting weak. I couldn't use the sledgehammer anymore and be picking up the sledgehammer and slamming it on, And even I couldn't even run my crane anymore because the first day back, I tried to get up underneath the grease. You had to grease the wheel. Part of my job was 1 hour's maintenance every day of greasing the wheels and stuff like that, and checking the oil and all that. Right? I had to do that as part of my job. But I couldn't do it because I couldn't crawl up underneath and stretch my arms out to use the grease gun. No matter which way I tried, I could not get it done. And I couldn't get up on the boom, and I couldn't lift my arm to squeeze the grease gun. You know what I mean? Like I got one arm, I could hold it, but this arm, and I'm trying to squeeze, I couldn't do it. Okay? So I was, I tried and I tried and I tried and I tried, but every shift I was getting sicker, I was getting weaker, I was getting more pain, I couldn't handle it. And then all of a sudden, one day I came back, we were leaving work, and I got a migraine headache, and I was 4 days in bed. And then I came back to work, and I lasted, a few shifts. I lasted about 2.5 months. I just couldn't take the pain anymore. I was frightened to death. I didn't know what to do, but I had promised the guy who hired me I'd never drink on the railway. Right? I never drink while I was working there. I promised him that. That was one of the conditions that I got hired under. Okay? So I told everybody I quit to go see my doctor. And I went in where the boys were in the hotel, or all the rest of the crew was in the hotel, and they were all drinking. I went and told the assistant foreman and 3 or 4 more, and I had to drink. People don't understand pain. They don't know how bad it can be. And here I was, miles out of town, no doctor, I'm trying to work, and I'm in agony. I was gritting my teeth, I was crying at night, but I get up with a smile on my face and just, I'm going to get better. That's all I was thinking.
Did you ever reach out to foremen or supervisors at a time when you were going through that and say, listen?
They were forcing me to work. They were trying to get me to lift heavy railway ties. My arm was shaking and vibrating, and they were trying to get me to use a sledgehammer, and sometimes they just let me sit there and do nothing.
Yeah.
But the thing was, I was really frightened. I was just trying to get well and do my job. I didn't want to lose my job.
How did compensation treat you in between this time?
Well, see, the whole point of the compensation...
Were you still tied to them at this time as you went back?
As soon as you accept workers' comp, anything you are... And this is, I guess, the crux of the matter. This is what makes it unique. I got to get back to the accepting workers' comp, okay? I got out of hospital and they sent me a check. So they send me a check, and I asked, what's this for? I didn't know where it come from, right? They said, oh, well, you accepted workers' compensation. And I said, no, I didn't. I said, how did I accept that? They said, you cashed a check. I said, I never cashed a check. How could I cash a check? I said, oh, you cashed a check, da-da-da-da-da.
But you didn't cash any check.
You automatically accepted workers' comp.
But what they did to you wasn't send you a check. They put money in your bank account and sent you a receipt of a check.
They never.
Right?
I didn't know. No, I never even got a receipt. I didn't even know anything.
So they just put it straight into your account.
Yes, I never signed anything or signed a check or did anything. But when I got out, then they sent me another check and then said I couldn't sue because I had elected comp. I argued when I tried to send it back to them.
So the second payment from them, was it a check?
Yes. One that I saw was sent in the mail to where I was living.
But the first one was deposited.
The first one they put it in the bank while I was unconscious.
That's right.
And that's illegal. You're not allowed to do that.
That's right.
You're not allowed to.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm trying to tell them to take the money back, take the check back, right? And I went to my lawyer and that I had, and I told him about it. I said, what do I do? Do I keep the money? Do I send it back? And he just shrugged his shoulders. And I didn't know what to do. I just went back home. I had the check, right?
That's right.
And then they sent me another one. And I tried to send that back, right? Third check. And I phoned them again. I phoned them up. And anyway, when I phoned them, I tried to tell him, look, I got a lawyer. I said, he's handling everything. I don't want this compensation money. He's handling everything, right? And I said, well, look, if you sue, you won't get any medical care, and you won't get any money for at least 2 years. That really frightened me, because now I was...
Yes, because that doesn't even make sense. How can they deny you medical care?
Well, because...
When you're injured or hurt, right?
I don't know, but that's what they were telling me. They said, they were frightening the death out of me, that I was going to be broke for 2 whole years if I sued, and I wouldn't have any... I only had $2,000 in the bank. I was debt-free. Yeah, the compensation worker from WSBW, or whatever it is, should never... WSIB should never, ever, in any term, try to scare people. It's called coercion. I know. They frightened me. I was brain injured, crippled for life, just out of hospital, still being looked after medically. Do you remember the lady you spoke to? No, God, no. Just you phone up the number and whatever number it is, the 800 number, and whoever answers, but you tell them your situation, and then they give you, whatever. But the whole point was, because I had a doctor tell me when I woke up and everything, he was at the end of the bed, and he looked, after I was out of intensive care, and he just looked at me and he said, he sat at the end of the bed and he sort of looked gruff, and he said, I got something to tell you. He said, something like that. I said, okay. He said, you'll never be the same again. You'll have to learn to adjust. I didn't know what he meant by that. I had no clue, and I just said to him, I got to get up and go to work by something like that. I got to get well and go to work, right? I had no idea how seriously I was injured. I had 30 stitches around my left eye. Like I said, I was brain injured. I didn't know it. I mean, I was still functioning, still talking, but then I noticed things. I used to get frightened easy. I used to get for things I never used to get frightened for. You know what I mean? No reason to be, but I would. I'd start to get frightened. And I found I used to talk and talk. I started talking, and I'd repeat myself. And the migraine headaches were happening. And they put me in, I was 4 days in bed. First one happened about 3 months after the accident. I told everybody about it. I kept telling them about the headaches, but nobody would listen to me or do anything about it. What has compensation told you each time you've tried to get any kind of help from them since that day? Well, I was 18 years before I got diagnosed with a brain injury, and I've been through jails and mental institutions, depressed, suicidal. Because of my behavior, and I drank because I was getting no treatment for nothing, no pain, no treatment for pain, no treatment for the brain injury. I was confused and depressed all the time. When was the last time you had a drink? 22 years ago. Congratulations. May 3rd would be 22 years. That's amazing. Yeah, well... And you didn't have to quit drinking. You weren't an alcoholic. You just quit drinking because... I don't want to hurt people. As simple as that. Yeah. I don't want to hurt other people because I'm suffering. I was only drinking to relieve my pain and suffering. That's all. I didn't want to hurt nobody. But, you know, I am an alcoholic. I can't drink. I mean, you know, that's all there is to it. And I think they know. They knew that. They all knew that.
I think the world, after 22 years being sober, I think you deserve a good clap and a lot of right on, you know. It takes a lot to do that. Most people can't even dream of doing something like that.
Well, I had most of my life I was sober.
That's
It was only the periods when I was having operations and blood clots in my leg, and I phoned compensation to help, and they wouldn't. And I was in agony, and
I want to get into the crux now. I want to get into when you tried to appeal to them, and you've explained to them that because of your injuries, you have a hard time doing any type of application. I've
asked for an oral.
Yep.
I have it because you were allowed to have an oral hearing, okay, where you just blurt it out and they have documents and whatever, right? They've refused that. I begged and pleaded and gone everywhere looking for lawyers to help me fill out forms and appeals and everything else.
After all of this grief, and tell me some other things you've done to try to make people aware of your situation, but not just yours, because I know that you have a big heart for all injured workers. I know that you were a friend of mine named Mr. Don Dunphy. Yeah. And Don was a big contributor and, I don't know, a hero for injured workers. That was his cause. Yeah. And I think you have a heart almost as big as him for sure, too, since I've met you. Tell me a bit about Don Dunphy.
Well, I really don't know the man. I just know he's the same as me. Poor man. You know. Can
you relate to Don? Is there things that have happened to you because of you fighting the government?
Terrified by the police.
Have some of the things happened to you that's happened to Don? Have you been have cops come to visit you at your home?
5 times.
5 times. And you've not committed no crimes or nothing like that? Okay.
But
have they ever threatened you in any way? Have they tried to intimidate you in any way as a result of you fighting WCW?
Yes, the first time they came to my door, it was like, shut up, do you want to go to jail? Do you want to go to jail? Do you want to go to jail? They were screaming at me.
Yeah.
And the tears were flowing. I was standing on my step, and they came across the street. I saw them park the car. They came across the street. And somebody I knew was at the door at the time when they were parking across the street. And so I just stayed out and told my friend to go upstairs. And the cops came across the road, and as they came across, one said to me, I bet you know why we're here. And I said, yes, you can't read. That's what I said. And they looked at me, and they came over, and we talked. And I tried to tell them, I said, look, I never wrote nothing wrong. I never made no threats or any. I said I explained in my blog online how injured workers feel. We're enraged. We're tormented. We're in pain. We want justice and we can't get it. And we're
you're just asking for what you deserve.
So we do think bad things about these people who are hurting us. Okay, we do. It's a given. But we contain it. We try to go the proper route, through the legal route, and through the right way. Okay? But we're denied all access to justice, and the justice system abuses us.
Tell me about those charters.
Charters?
When it comes to workmen's compensation, how they changed.
Workers now? Well, here's the main issue, and this is why Mr. Dunphy got killed, and why they keep sending the police to me and all the other injured workers.
Yep.
The thing is, the Canada Health Act removed your rights, benefits, and protections if you're an injured worker. You actually have no rights under the Canada Health Act because you are now hurt on the job. You are classified as an injured worker. And
because of that, you are not able to get legal aid, so you can't have fair representation in the courthouse?
Because of that. That's the Canada Health Act. But that means I can't get medical care for all the injuries I have.
Okay.
Unless workers' comp approves it and says there's something wrong with me. They'll do it. But they never admitted I was brain injured. They never admitted I was crippled for life at risk of blood clots. They never admitted
Now you have documents from doctors.
From 2 provinces, specialists from the Miller Center, a week-long assessment,
so you
6 weeks in Ontario, doctors upon doctors upon doctors, medical documents from the government of Newfoundland and Labrador saying I'm totally disabled from employment permanently.
I have seen and read most of them. It's amazing the stack you have.
Yeah, and this is what frustrates me. This frustrates me. So I'm automatically entitled to my money and my medical care. But yet what they did, they put me back to work. And when I couldn't handle my job, the same people who knew I was totally disabled from employment, because the company knew before I did. They had a letter sent to them, which you read, telling them I was totally disabled, and I was supposed to be in hospital in Toronto, that they were making arrangements.
If you were to sum it up in a few words,
Yeah.
what would you say to people in Newfoundland, Labrador? What are you looking for?
Okay, here, what I'm looking for is this. What happened to Mr. Dunphy was totally unnecessary. The Workers' Compensation Act in Newfoundland and Labrador, and every other Workers' Compensation Act across Canada, they're provincially run, okay, removes an injured worker's legal rights. You have no right to take the board, the doctors, the nurses, the compensation board, the company, or anybody else that hurt you, robbed you, cheated you, committed fraud against you, coerced you, terrorized you, tormented, tortured, and caused you all kinds of pain and suffering. No one will help you. When the police come to my door for 5 times, I ask them to help me. I ask them, please, these people owe me money, and they are abusing me, and they're terrorizing me. And they literally are. Okay? And I want help. And I'm sure that's what Mr. Dunphy said when the policeman was sitting in his office, in his house. And see, this is what happens. The police say, no, they won't take our complaints. They won't take our complaints of fraud. They won't take our complaints of lack of medical care that we're supposed to get and causing us so much trauma and suffering. They won't take any complaints at all. They force us to go back to the Workers' Compensation Board, who says there's nothing wrong with us, and we have to appeal again.
But you know your body, and you know there's something wrong with you.
Oh man!
And the doctors have already told you that. So
yeah, it's not. And the thing is, like, all I want is justice. I want a fair hearing on my clearing. You cannot get it with workers' comp because your legal rights are gone and your medical rights. So if you have no legal rights and medical rights, and I know I need hydrotherapy.
Can you sue workers' compensation?
No, that's the point. The whole point about workers' comp, it's called a historic compromise in Canada and the exclusive remedy in the United States. They both started about 1915.
Yeah, that's so.
Okay? So the bottom line was the workers of this country give up their right to sue the corporation even if the corporation was 100% at fault. You know? In exchange for the guaranteed compensation government promises.
That's right.
It's supposed to be an inquiry system where if you're determined to be physically disabled from your employment, that you would automatically get the 75% or 80% or whatever percentage province says you're supposed to get.
Yeah.
And if you're in chronic pain, you're supposed to get treated for that. And, or whatever other, disability, you're supposed to get treated for you're supposed to get medical care and wage loss.
Fred,
it's guaranteed, but you can't get it if you got your rights taken away.
Before I wrap this up, have you talked to other people that are injured?
Thousands.
Cool.
Literally, not only that, I have talked to the professionals around the world that treat pain.
And what you say, we've seen about at least 30 or 40 videos now since I've got to meet you on injured workers talking, explaining their cases. Many of them are just like you. Many of them are hurt even worse than me. Yep. Okay.
And the point is, though, it doesn't matter.
There
is no degree of disability. It's can you do your job or not. If you're medically unable, physically unable to do your job, you are considered disabled.
That's right.
Now, I am that way. Okay? I've been trying to get back to school, and every time I try to get back to school, the first time I was in high school, I went from 1981. I went on my own. I paid my own way, my own books and tuition. I went to regular high school at White Pines Collegiate up in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, because they wouldn't help me out, and I was trying to go and trying to get a settlement so I could go back to school to learn another skill, trade, whatever, right? So I went, finished my high school, and I went from grade 8 to grade 11 in like 6 months, but I was starving, and I was losing weight, and I was hungry, and I was getting stressed, and I had to, and then I get a letter from the company saying, Because you have undertaken your own vocational rehabilitation, you will not receive a cash settlement at this time. Well, whose decision is it? I mean, it's my life. I want to get well. I want to go back to work. I need the compensation to do that. I can't do it on welfare. I can't do it with no money for books and tuition and food and rent and everything you need. I wanted my compensation so I could get back to work. Okay? Anyway, I got cut off. That traumatized me pretty good. I ended up coming home here to Newfoundland in 85, January 85. I wasn't working. I didn't know what to do. I managed to get a part-time weekend job at a hotel, and I managed to pick up some journalism stuff, because I had a little column in the paper finding volunteers for people, and Telegram hired me based on that. And then a month later after that, a plane crash happened in Gander, Arrow Airlines, 101st Airborne, and I just happened to have, pictures for that. But I wasn't a professional. I was just there with a camera taking pictures, and I wasn't a real professional journalist. But after that, I decided, okay, I'm going to go to university, and I'll pay for my student loans.
How was your body when you were doing this? That was when you were going and trying to do some of these things with your injuries?
That was okay, because I wasn't lifting, I wasn't bending, I wasn't kneeling, I wasn't walking on my feet all day. It was just an hour or so, going down the site, taking a few pictures, and go home,
Yeah.
So any kind of sedentary work where I'm not standing or walking for, all the time, or lifting and stuff. Any strenuous, repetitive activities I can't do. Mm. Like, if I stand up on my leg and walk from here to the mall and back, I'm very likely to get blood clots in the leg and drop dead. I had them and was hospitalized for 2 weeks. Mm. When I got my files from Ontario, because I was trying to figure out what was going on with my leg, the specialist report was there that I was not supposed to walk or stand for any length of time. Okay. Well, this is the reason why. Everything was crushed, and this is one of the common things when you get a lower leg injury for everybody. Okay? It's not just me, it's everybody, right? You're at risk of blood clots forever from that. Okay? The reason why is because blood vessels are crushed, and your blood vessels actually have valves down in the legs that help push the blood back up. Well, if that's not working, you're pulling up the blood, it's causing forming clots. So you have to be, like, I'm always lying down, standing up, sitting down. I can't get comfortable in any way, shape, or form. I fidget when I'm in a chair. But if I don't move, I'll seize up. I get no therapy. I am seized up. I'm so weak, and I'm so stiff and so sore.
So you have no physical therapy or no kind of help at all from doctors or workers' compensation
or workers' comp, even
or welfare? Nobody is helping you with this.
No, nobody has. My mom helped me out when she was alive. She let me borrow the car. Or she helped pay for car payments for me, or gas, so I could get around, just so I get my groceries done, my laundry, and go to the mall, or go shopping, or go to an AA meeting, or go wherever I want to go, right? So I have mobility. She died about 8 years ago now, and I got caught with marijuana because I wasn't getting any treatment, right? I wasn't getting any treatment, okay? I couldn't drink for pain and depression, and I found marijuana to be the best thing I could ever have. I was 2 years stone cold sober at a party one night, and somebody offered me some marijuana, and immediately I felt looser, and my body was more eased, and my muscle cramps in my back started to release, and I said, wow. Yeah,
because up to that time, you never ever done marijuana, did you?
No, I did it, but I never had it for medical purposes. I didn't realize there was any need for it. I just did it. Just like you go out and drink, and you get drunk, you get high, you go out with the boys, somebody passes you a joint. Yeah. It was not a
it's not a big
thing.
deal anyway.
No,
the real deal is that this helps you for your medication.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing.
I tried alcohol, and what that landed me up in jails and mental institutions.
Yeah.
I can't drink. I'm an alcoholic, and that's the bottom line. I wasn't drinking on the job. I was sober. I was in a recovery home when I got hired. Yeah. And, I went through treatment programs and all this.
You've done all the things you needed to do.
Yes, everything I could do to stay sober and be a functioning, decent person. That's all, right? And anyway, about the therapy and stuff, I have a specialist here did say he did an MRI on my spine. I'm just the lower part, and I got 3 herniated discs, which pinch sciatic nerve. It causes a lot of grief. I almost died from severe pain because of it for a 5-year period. My blood pressure going as high as 200 over 140 in a doctor's office. And but you see, sleep deprivation, when you're in so much pain, severe pain, you can't sleep at all. Really. I passed out for 5 years. I just passed out every once in a while for 10, 15 minutes and then wake up again. I never got 2 hours sleep. I never got 3 or 4 hours sleep. I never got an hour sleep for 5 years.
It sounds like this injury that, how long has it been since the injury now?
35 years.
That you've had 35 years of a lot of agony and pain and torment that was most not needed and unwanted. And unjustifiable.
Oh, totally. And unreasonable.
And unreasonable.
All I've ever said is, look, I'm disabled from my employment. Well, that's great. I want to get on the go. Give me my compensation and medical care so I can get back to work. And at first, I was, 24 years old. I was still fairly strong and healthy, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise. And I could have easily gone to school, got a university degree, college diploma. Every time I attended school after I got hurt, I was getting 100% in everything, basically. Okay? I applied myself. But the problem is they keep cutting me off. Like I said, I came here to St. John's to go to university. I was going to pursue a degree in English, and I was going to become involved in journalism or writing somehow because I seemed to have some skill for it, right? So, okay.
So you wanted to basically improve yourself. You knew you had been injured, but you still wanted to do good and contribute to society.
Yeah,
and no matter how hard that you've tried to retrain yourself or to contribute to society,
I keep getting cut off.
These people are not there to assist you, to help you to be, so you can function and do those things.
Right.
That's
and like, okay, so I'll give you an example. When I did go to university, I went one semester, and then the next semester they said, "Oh, you owe us $1,600 or $800 because you have a $200 disability pension." I was told that disability pension, by the way, was not supposed to be taken out from any other program. It was over and above anything else. I didn't have to pay taxes on it. It was, all that kind of stuff. Even unemployment insurance, when I was on with them, told me I didn't have to claim that in any way, shape, or form. It was not, they weren't going to. But yet, student loans wrote me a letter and said, I owe them $800 for the previous semester, and they were going to take $800 off the next semester's loan, but that would have only left me, because my living allowance was only $1,680, so that would have left me $80 for 4 months to live off while I was going to the next semester, plus my $200 a month pension. So I would have had $220 a month to live off for 4 months, but yet I had to pay for books and tuition and rent and everything else. I had no money. So I was forced to try and go look to work to try. And then it took me years to pay off that student loan, so I could go back again. But what happened was that, I tried to work, right? And somebody, my landlord he started up a business in a gas station. He knew I was a respectable guy. He asked me if I'd be the manager. And I told him I never managed a gas station before in my life. But he said it was easy, and, and he helped guide me and stuff like that. So I said, okay, I'll do it. Part of my job was I had to pump gas, Now, I was only busy in the morning, for an hour, hour and a half or so. But just walking back and forth to the pump, 20 or 30 feet. And I'm no heavy lifting or moving or nothing. I could sit down otherwise or whatever. But yet, just that little, I never had to do no heavy work, but even just that little bit of walking on a repetitive basis, I got half a dozen blood clots up and down the calf of my leg, and the cartilage went to my knee. And I was hospitalized for 2 weeks, and then I couldn't go back to my job, as they said, I'm on blood thinners and all that. If I get a bruise or something, I could bleed. And I had to give up that job. And
if you had to, like I said, because to sum it up, what would you say?
All I ever needed was what was promised by the government. It was my compensation. That's all I've ever needed, and I would have been back to work. I would have been happy. I probably would have had a family. I probably would have a nice little place in Ontario now, and I'd be out fishing with my son, or having watching the moonlight with my wife, or I would have had a family life. I always wanted to get married and have a son.
It sounds like they've taken a lot away from you, my friend.
My whole life, my friend. They've taken away my hopes. They've taken away my dreams. They've taken away my independence. They've taken away my freedom. All they do is bully and intimidate and threaten, and you got to appeal, you got to do this, you got to do that. That's all I get. I'm sorry, but, that's all I get from them ever. and I can't do it because I'm too stressed out. I can't appeal. It's unreasonable for me to appeal. And I can't do it. And when I try to put my writing on the paper I go crazy. I fill up with stress, and I get too emotionally overwhelmed, and I can't. And I just want to. Many times I wanted to die. I wish so many times I died in that accident, man. You know, because I've had nothing but a life of hell since.
Well, from this day forward, hopefully we'll change that, Fred, because you've made some new friends. And we know that you're a wonderful supporter for Anonymous and a champion of human rights, and especially rights that come to injured workers, not just here in Newfoundland, but around the world. And you have a deep passion to change, to bring goodness and kindness and fairness to all people that are injured. And we support you 100%. Thank you very, very much for your honesty, your integrity, and an amazing interview. And let's see where it goes.
Thank you for interviewing me. I certainly appreciate it. I'd just like to add a couple of little things that would possibly change the whole situation for all of us and make it fair and just for all injured workers. Restore our rights. Do not take us out of the Canada Health Act. We were working men paying for everybody else's medical care that needed it. We were hard working. We were entitled to our Canada Health Care benefits, and but you know, because we got work injuries, they're covered, workers' comp. But then I'm still a human being. I hurt. I need to be helped. You know, I had a brain injury, and my behavior was bad.
It's
okay. And I'm ashamed of myself.
I don't think that was your fault if you had a brain injury, though. So
well, it's not only that, you're subjected to psychologically abusive appeals processes on top of that are not necessary. They only hurt you. They only cause more pain and suffering.
Yeah, you've told me about you've had some friends that have actually committed suicide through all this because of this process, the way they treat these people, and how long it takes to get help and assistance.
Many. It's because the bottom line is this: they've sent the police to me 5 times. I've been terrorized. I can't get any help. I can't get any justice for the wrongs that have been done to me. And everybody calling me the bad guy. That I'm the bad guy. I'm the one that's doing wrong. I'm the lazy guy or the fraud or the... I've been told twice by Government of Newfoundland employees I was a fraud and then cut off all benefits and left with nothing. And frightened because I am disabled and I can't work. And unless I get a degree or a diploma or something, I can't go back to work. I tried hard.
Fred, you don't have to feel no shame, and you should be proud of yourself because you've fought this, you've stood up and took a lot of a beating, and you're still here and you're still fighting. And it's so honored to know you.
I want to share what I've learned. The Workers' Compensation Act removes your legal rights. That should not be. We all should have our legal rights.
I agree 100%.
You know, at least this. If we're going to lose our legal rights and our medical rights, when they offer us compensation and say, we'll give you 75% of your gross wages, and we'll give you medical care for your injuries as long as this lasts, whether it's a day or your lifetime, that's compensation, right? They should also add, you lose your right to sue by taking comp, but you also lose your medical and legal rights under these acts, okay? They should inform you of that. And then if you're foolish enough to accept their terms, you're a problem. But you have informed consent.
That's right, and you weren't informed.
No injured worker in this country is. We're all taught through media and everything else, we're all covered under the Canada Health Act, and if we get hurt on the job, we're going to get compensation in the form of wage loss and medical care. It's a guarantee from government. Government is responsible for all this mess.
Oh, I believe that.
They took our legal rights away, our medical rights away, and most of us don't even know it. You ask the kids today, they think they're covered under the Canada Health Act. We have different systems. We're not told about these different systems. And the judge will say, ignorance of the law is no excuse. But it's not law. This is a statute and an act. A business thing. It's not real law. I know that I'm not supposed to commit fraud against you or hurt you bodily or take anything from you or do anything like that. I'm not allowed to hurt you and your person or your property. That's the law. Well, what's been hurting me, my property, my compensation is being robbed from me. And it's caused me so much stress and pain and suffering because because of my condition, which is chronic pain, is one. The brain injury is another. And
then the leg injuries, the arm injury.
Yeah.
They all wrap up.
Yeah, it's all making me totally disabled from any type of labor work.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm sorry, Fred, but we got to wrap this up.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all I'm asking. Restore our rights under the Canada Health Act and remove the clause that takes our legal rights away. And
allow injured workers to
recognize chronic pain
live in dignity, you know?
Recognize chronic pain as a serious life-threatening condition that it is. It's caused from pinched, severed, and crushed nerves, nothing else. It's not in your head, which is what the workers' comp doctors like to say. In other words, they're implying that you're insane, that it's not, you have no pain.
That's right.
But yet we are in severe pain to the point where we're dying from it, like Mr. Jeff Thompson did in Ontario in 2009. Yeah. And there's many ways we die from this severe pain. We die from suicide to get relief because we're not getting any medical care for it. We die from distress caused. We have heart attacks, we have strokes, and we get ulcers. All of these are from the severe chronic pain not being treated. And some of us go 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, some 10 years, without any treatment, right? We're not all frauds. We're not all malingerers. We're not all liars. I just hope that what I've said here will wake people up to the discrimination and the neglect that we injured workers experience from the medical and legal system in this country. And I hope that people will protect their children, protect their fathers, protect their mothers, protect their aunts, protect their uncles, protect everybody, and fight for your rights. Fight for what's yours, and never give up.